Welcome back to Edgework, presented by FanDuel as part of the Hammer Betting Network. I'm Alex Moretto, joined here today by So Money Sports to break down tonight's games, break down last night's games, react, and look ahead as we do every day on Edgework here. A tough night, a great night, as Charles says in the chat, but a tough night as well if you are a Habs fan. We will get to all those games. I don't know if we want to start there or if we want to start somewhere else. There's definitely a lot of takeaways. Some really awesome hockey was played last night. That's one of those days that makes you just like, yeah, this is round one is truly the pinnacle of the hockey season, at least in terms of an entertainment value. I guess we will start in Montreal. Habs, in my opinion, came out scared, timid a little bit again. The big bad Capitals were kind of running them around, hitting everything in sight. The Habs were not matching that physicality. It took them a while to get to that point. Eventually they did, and they were able to, get some great play from Montembeault early on to kind of weather the storm, which they needed because you knew the Capitals were going to come out flying at home game one. And they did. Montembeault weathered the storm. I'm not going to try and sit here and complain about refs because that's not why the game ended the way it did. Caps deserve to win the game. It is what it is. But like Gallagher gets cross-checked in the face. There's no call. And then there's a scrum 5 minutes later. And Gooley, who didn't even do anything out of the ordinary, it was just a very, very normal scrum. Normally you see them take an extra guy when things are starting to get out of hand. And there's like after every whistle, guys are throwing punches, stuff's coming together. This was one of the first real scrums of the game, aside from the one where Gallagher literally got cross-checked in the face. They take Gooley as the extra guy, which I thought was insane. I couldn't believe they did that. Of course, Washington scores on that power play. And that really, you can see that really took the wind out of Montreal's sails. They were not able to respond for a while. Washington makes it 2-0. Second period, the first 10 minutes, they were dominant. Montreal was very much second best. Eventually, they go behind 2-0. They're kind of able to fight back. And then I thought they showed a lot of real spine to kind of come back in that game. Caulfield hits the post. They keep coming. Slafkovsky wins some battles down low. Suzuki and Caulfield do their thing. They're able to tie the game. And it felt like I honestly was sitting at home. I was like, okay, they're going to win this game. Like it just felt like they were going to win the game. And then Ron MacLean, for those of you in the States that don't know Ron MacLean, he is the host of the Sportsnet panel. He opens his goddamn mouth at the intermission and says that Ovechkin has never scored a playoff overtime goal. And then Friedman looks at him and says, like, if he does now, like Habs fans are going to be pissed off. And of course, 3 minutes into overtime, what I thought, again, was a very, very questionable icing call to keep get the face-off down in the Habs end. Weird bounce off a skate, goes down into the corner. Duhaime throws it in front. Ovechkin bats it out of midair, and I melted into the couch. So Money, take us through an unbiased look at that Habs game.
Yeah, my first thought was that when that game started is that Columbus died for this. No, I'm just joking.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I would, as an unbiased observer, I would be encouraged by the Montreal Canadiens game, right? There's a couple of things that stood out. We talked about it in the preview episode about how I wanted to kind of see how Montreal starts this game because there is an element of are you going to take a step back or are you going to breathe after the last few weeks you've had? You are going up against a Washington team that is a veteran playoff team now, right? And right, so there's a lot of players there that know how to get going for the playoffs. And Washington started that game just the way that we should have anticipated them starting that game. And Montembeault really held them in it. Otherwise, it could have been over very early. But what I liked is that the way Montreal came back, right? We know that this is a feisty team. Ultimately, I don't think they have enough to beat Washington, and I felt like that before the series started. But I feel very confident that long term, this is going to be good for the Habs in their development. Short term in this series, I think they're going to make a series out of this, right? I don't think it's going to be 4 or 5. I think that Montreal can stretch this to 6, and I was encouraged by the way that they played. Now, obviously, you can't continue starting games like that because it's not sustainable for Montembeault to keep you in the games like that. But it was very encouraging the way that they come back, and there was some There were some bad habits that we've seen from Washington the last couple of months that were seeping into their game when they were up 2-0, and that's something to keep an eye on as well. So overall, I know the Habs got some tough breaks. There was some ref stuff that you cited, bad break on that icing as well, like tough breaks. But I would be encouraged with the way that game played out.
Yeah, looking at FanDuel, I liked this before the series, and I like it a lot now. I don't think anything has changed my mind based on that first game. Over 5.5 games was like minus, depending where you shopped around, was kind of around the minus 150 range, up to minus 160 kind of. You're getting minus 113 now on over 5.5 games in the series at minus 113. And nothing about game one would change my opinion in that, like, okay, all of a sudden now I think I'm quite concerned about how, this could be over quickly. So I like that. We can't necessarily track it here, but that is like an unofficial best bet over 5.5 games. I think that's a very good number at this point after a tight game one that suggests that we could be in for a longer series here. But yeah, I agree with everything for sure. Charles says the Habs will have the tough realization that they need to get bigger. I don't think that's too much of an issue based on the guys that they have coming up and coming in. Obviously, like you look at some of the core, like some of the younger guys that are like key guys for them going forward. Caulfield's obviously smaller. Hudson's obviously smaller, but like aside from that, like Suzuki's whatever, he's average size. Slavkovsky's pretty big. Goulia's big and lays the lumber down. Reinbacker's very, very big. Mayu's very big. He's coming in. Haig's a pretty big center that's going to be coming in. Doc's obviously big. They're missing him. The issue for me with the Habs right now is that like they're going to need more secondary scoring, and like Laine is just an anchor right now on that second line. It's really and Newhook likes to play on the puck. It's tough. You're not necessarily giving Demidov guys to fully play with. They're going to need to figure something out. I want to see Josh Anderson get on that line with Newhook and Demidov would be my preference, and then get Laine down to play with Gallagher and Dvorak, two guys that will grind down low and create space and just look to feed Laine pucks. And then you can have Anderson, who's going to be the guy who's flying out there, laying the body and setting up chances, or at least winning pucks for guys like Demidov and Newhook. That's kind of a change that I would like to see Marty make. I'm more hesitant to think that Marty will make changes. I think he's pretty set with this lineup. He's not like a very reactionary coach. He likes to like really give things time to sort of marinate before he makes changes, which is good and bad, I guess. Sometimes it can be a negative, sometimes it can be a good thing, but I don't think we're going to see Xhekaj come into the lineup. I think people were clamoring for it. People on Habs Twitter saying you need to bench Matheson and get Xhekaj in there. It's insane. Matheson is very irresponsible with the puck sometimes, but there's a lot of things he does that you cannot replace on the back end. The way he can move the puck in transition, the minutes he logs. I would consider taking Struble out, but Struble's a pretty physical, imposing guy too. So I don't expect any changes for them lineup-wise, but I would like to see them do that little switch on lines 2 and 3.
Yeah, and I mean at the end of the day, to put things into perspective, right? Like regardless of how that game started or how it went, it was a coin flip overtime game in the end, right? That's where the Habs got that game to, and in the end, it's not all that matters, right? Like there's nothing there that like makes me think that like we need overarching changes or we need to react right now, right? Like they're on the road. It's the first 2 games on the road, and they made one of them a coin flip game, right? And now hopefully they come out better in the next game, and maybe they can make it another coin flip game, right? So I mean, it's all part of the ebb and flows of the playoffs right now. I don't think we need to be too reactionary at this point.
No, definitely not. It's just slightly crushing to lose in that fashion. You almost were just like giving into it and be like, all right, you know what? Caps are just bigger and better. It is what it is. And then to tie it like that and then to just lose in overtime is like, oh, you just take me to the top of the mountain just to push me off. Jets and Blues. Jets, somewhat comfortable win. Again, we talked about the Blues just really struggling to create offense, and that was really much the case last night. They score obviously that power play goal very late in the first period with like a second left or 0.8 seconds left. Outside of that, really could not get much going offensively. Obviously, I did not watch as much of this game compared to the Habs game, but from every time I had it on, like during intermission, commercial stuff like that, it looked like it was relatively straightforward for the Jets. Would you agree with that, or I don't know how much you got to see of this game and what your takeaways were from that?
Yeah, I watched most of it afterwards, after the game was done. But I do agree for the most part. There wasn't even even in the first game when they were down in the third period, I never really got the sense that the Jets were not going to come back.
Yeah.
Last night when I was watching the game, I never got the sense that the Jets were in trouble. I think that this is a different makeup of this team. I look at the Jets as very similar to the Leafs, where we kind of know at this point that that this is it, right? Like there's no other chances at this point with these teams. So and I think the Jets are playing that way. That was a very focused game where they responded in the way that they should have. Specifically, better defensively. I thought Hellebuck looked better. He was coming out more. I know that he likes to play deep in his net a lot. That's good and bad. He's got the athleticism to do that, but sometimes that can really get you, right. So I thought he was coming out more. He looked better, and we suspected that he would have a better response in that game as well. So overall, I thought it was pretty straightforward. Blues are going to continue struggling to generate offense, we envisioned here, and the Jets they're suffocating, but they're also going to the net now, and that's something that was plaguing them in years past, where they weren't able to, for whatever reason, get to the net. And now you see guys like Scheifele just like power forwarding his way into the net all the time. Like it's good to see. I like that kind of hockey, and it's good when a team that's like struggled for a while like finally understands what they need to do, and the Jets look like they've gotten the memo now.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to obviously wait and see what prices look like stuff, but there might be some tough decisions coming here in round two, because they will take on the winner of the Stars Avs series. And I was looking at the so I watched most of that game. That was we expected the A effort from Dallas. That's why we bet on Dallas. Game 2 at home, basically your season's on the line. We expected that A game from them, and they produced that A game. That was, you could see they wanted that bad. They were out there like that was the maximum effort level from them. Avs, it was not, and they still almost pulled it off. The Avs were kind of in that like, okay, we're playing with house money now. We're going home with this home ice advantage regardless here. Still no Landeskog. It was like, not foot off the gas, but it was definitely not like maximum effort Avs. And they still almost win the game. Thankfully, Stars get home. I'm very concerned about the Stars going forward in this series, though. I don't know how much they can keep that up, and we're only going to get a better effort from the Avs here. Now, Game 3, Landeskog's return in Colorado. That building's going to be going nuts. That team's going to be going insane. It's hard to envision Dallas winning one of those two games, and obviously anything can happen. Dallas is a very good team. Maybe Heiskanen comes back as well and like changes the outlook. But we're getting right now on FanDuel -176 on the Avs, which is where this series price kind of closed in a lot of places. And now we're seeing very much a similar number to where it was after, before Game 1. And the Avs have that's happened is the Avs have taken back home ice. I think that's very short. I don't know. What about you?
I completely agree. I think that I would be concerned if I was a Stars fan. That really had all the makings. It kind of looked like their last win of the season.
It did. It really did.
Right.
That's a good point.
So I would be concerned as a Stars fan. And you're right. That was Game 1. I felt that the Stars were fine. Obviously, that's the reason why I felt that that they would be able to make the adjustments, which for the most part they did, right? I thought that they did play better defensively, especially as the game wore on. Now, the problem with the Stars is that the bar is low when we talk about the Stars playing better defensively, right? So there's only so much they can do with the composition of their roster right now. And that's what's going to kill them in the end here, right? Because this Avs team, we know that Game 1 wasn't their best. That wasn't a ceiling game. The 5-1 score was very deceiving. Game 2 wasn't their best. I think that the Stars have the Avs have another level that the Stars simply physically cannot get to that point. And that's what's going to be concerning here, because even you look at that overtime goal, right? Like the guy takes a shot, and then he's basically walking around the defenseman to to get his own rebound instead of being rubbed out of the play after he takes a shot. That's very elementary stuff, right? So like stuff like that, that the Avalanche are gonna clean that up, right? And like there is a focus on that team. We've talked about this all season. There is a focus on the Avalanche to play better defensively, and that wasn't good from them last night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So going forward, I think it'd be fine. In terms of the pricing, I agree with you. It's a little short, and it's something that does intrigue me. I do have asked for the series, but at this point, I think that I'll probably be adding as well. And yeah, I just don't see what else. You always want to be able to look at adjustments, and there are teams that are capable of making adjustments to go back and forth in the series, but I have trouble envisioning how much better the Stars can play based on their injuries and kind of how they need to play this series. So I would be concerned if I was a Dallas fan right now.
Yeah, there's some Avs series spread as well, like -1.5, like plus money. I like that too. But yeah, I think we get another like unofficial best bet here. That is, maybe we can put these in the tracker, but the over 5.5 games in the Caps Habs series, and then the Avs series price here. I think that is too short considering where we closed off and where we are right now and what has happened, what has transpired between then. So definitely will be adding more myself. Have added more myself. I might just keep clicking, honestly, as I keep seeing the Landeskog tweets. I might just keep like clicking because man, it's going to be wild to see in Game 3. I know someone here in like Newmarket that trains at the gym that he's been rehabbing at for a long time, and he's flying a few of those guys out there for the game as well. Really like going to be a lot of people in there supporting him, and just like insane that he's going to be making that comeback. A lot of people in his position would have, probably hung him up over a year ago at this point, right? For him to just like, how much it means to him, for him to grind and work that hard when so many people are telling him it's probably not going to happen, and him to just keep his head down and keep pushing to get to this point. Really a remarkable show of character there. So I'm happy for him. It'll be awesome to see that. I'm kind of glad we didn't get it last night, because I do want to see it happen in Colorado. I think that's the right thing. I think that was the plan all along. Just let him get out there for the warm up, let him be around the guys yesterday. But there was never a plan to have him in there before the Game 3. So very much looking forward to that. There was one other game last night, and maybe we're taking a lot of time reacting to stuff here, but this is maybe the one that requires the most reaction, because the Kings and the Oilers, we both had some strong views on this Kings team, strong opinions on them going forward in these playoffs. Loved what I saw early on, and then obviously Edmonton battles back. Draisaitl snaps on the bench after that 4-0 goal. Looks like he was yelling at Noblar or someone or the players or whatever, but he snaps on the bench. They come on the ice. McDavid just fends off like a world-class defender in Kopitar and just makes him look like he's not even there, sets up that goal for Draisaitl, and then the Oilers find a way to battle back, and then just another defensive breakdown ends up costing them what would have been an insane comeback, and honestly, probably a comeback that the Kings do not recover from. If that game goes the other way, I would have been very, very concerned. Thankfully, the Kings get home, and now we can sit here being like, okay, like, is that what the Oilers are going to have to do to win games? And if that's what they're going to have to do, is it going to be sustainable? I don't know. I know you guys have some thought. You have some thoughts on this, and we were talking about this with some people yesterday. So I'll give you the floor here, and then I'll respond to your comments.
Yeah, so I think that this was a good thing for the Kings, the way that this game transpired. There were two games here, obviously, right? So the first game was how the Kings started that game. Obviously, the Oilers were not into that game, and the Kings. I thought that was their A effort. Now we have to look at why that game started the way it did, right? The broadcast crew last night was mentioning that this is the first time that the Oilers have had this this roster composition for the first time all year, right? With the guys who are in there, and you could see that it took a while to get going. So in hindsight, it makes sense that the Oilers started that game the way that they did. The Kings, we knew that they were going to start with their A game, right? That's yes. What we talked about. That was the basis of the play. that was the basis of front running this series as well. We knew what we were going to get from LA, considering the past history of these teams. So the first half of the game, what is more sustainable? I think the Kings' A effort that is sustainable in this series. They've been doing it all year, and it wasn't as if they were doing anything out of the ordinary in that first half of the game. They were just playing their game. The Oilers, the way that they started that game, that's not going to continue. The Oilers are going to play better, right? And then you look at what happened in the second half. Now, we need to keep in mind that the Kings were up in this game 4-0. Okay, I mean, like obviously, like it's human nature, right? Like we're gonna take a step back, right? Like
Yeah.
we've all played at different levels, right? And like there's an element of like when you're constantly getting beat up by a team, there's a certain response that you have when you know that we're a better team from past versions. The Kings got that response. At the in the same light, there's also a response when you are up 4-0 in a game late in the second period. That if that goal doesn't go with like 4 seconds left, when McDavid made Kopitar look silly there. If that was the 4-1 goal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. If that doesn't go, if that goal doesn't go in, right? We're not even talking about a comeback here. I don't think, right? If 4-0 going into the third period,
Yeah. This is like, let's pack up. We're on to
yeah,
game two. Like, conserve your
yeah,
energy.
right. So
Play McDavid
yeah,
and Draisaitl 3-4 minutes in the third, and that's it.
exactly, right. So we need to keep those things in mind. Now, the Oilers were outstanding in the third period, right? They were at another level, but it was also because the Kings had already gotten themselves on their heels there. Um, our former producer Zach was messaging last night, and then he was saying that if the Oilers need to keep winning these games with Draisaitl and McDavid playing 30 minutes a night, 30 40 minutes a night, that's going to be trouble for the Oilers. And I do
Yeah.
agree with that. And that's what I mean when I say that we need to look at both games within the game last night. We need to parse them out and see which part was more sustainable. McDavid and Draisaitl playing 40 minutes a night, 30 minutes a night, whatever it was, and getting that kind of result as the series goes on, that is not as sustainable as us relying on the Kings bringing their A effort, right?
Yeah.
And also, Darcy Kemper was horrific in that third period. There were a couple of goals there where it was, I mean, come on, right? So and that's not going to be sustainable as well, right? Like we have seen him respond. We have seen we have enough of a sample size with Darcy Kemper that I can comfortably say that going forward he's going to be fine. I felt like this was that kind of cathartic release from the Kings. They just needed to get this out of there. They got that first win. They held off the Oilers with their unbelievable comeback, and now I feel that they can move forward, giving their A effort for the full 60 minutes. And I think that moving forward, I am very encouraged as a Kings ticket holder, but I'm also as a fan, I would be very encouraged about that game as well.
Yes. So, okay. So I have some thoughts. I agree with a lot of what you said. There are some things where maybe I'll play devil's advocate here for the Oilers. I am optimistic about the Kings going forward still. Nothing has changed there. I do very much like the makeup of this team. We saw how many different ways they can beat you too, and how many different lines they have that can contribute and play at both ends of the ice. All that is still very true, and they did get a bad game from Kemper. The Oilers also got a bad game from Skinner. I know a lot of people are calling for Skinner to be pulled and saying they can't win with him, whatever. We've talked about this before. Like, Skinner is up and down. That's just the way he is. He's a kind of volatile. I don't think Skinner is as bad as he's now made out to be. It's kind of like the Darnell Nurse thing, right? Where like Nurse is not good, but we got to a point where like last year where people were like treating Nurse like he was an AHL caliber defenseman, right? He's just not worth his contract. It's the same thing as Skinner. Like, Skinner is not like good or elite or anything like that, but like you can still win with him, and he proved that last year in the playoffs. He still has the like floor games, but he has the ceiling games. He had more games in the playoffs last year where he saved over a goal like 1 goal above expected or more. He had 7 of those games, and I think 5 of the games where he saved below 1 goal. So like he still had more ceiling games than floor games. You can win with him. My other thing where I'll play devil's advocate is like the Oilers won't necessarily need to lean on McDavid and Draisaitl 30, 35 minutes a night to win, because they're going to get Evander Kane back. It sounds like very, very soon. They're going to get Trent Frederick up to speed. He only played 9 minutes last night. He's got to get his legs under him, but he'll start going a little bit. They're just bringing everyone back right now, right? They're just trying to reintegrate all these pieces. And then eventually, if they are able to sort of survive with, again, it will require McDavid and Draisaitl to play a ton in this series. But after that, you get like Ekholm back too. And then if they're somehow able to just lean on McDavid and Draisaitl, and those guys can go hero mode and get by the Kings, and then you can get Ekholm back, then this becomes an incredibly scary team again. So it's going to be like, I think the winner of this series will I mean, again, the West is so tough because you got Vegas next too, right? It's not like, winner of this series is going to the Cup. Like, there's so many great teams, but like, winner of this series has a chance to make some serious noise. Kings are catching Oilers at the right time, but if the Oilers do find a way to survive here, I don't think it's going to be like all on McDavid and Draisaitl, because they will, start to have like a bit of that chemistry. They will have other guys contributing, and they will get Ekholm back, and then Ekholm and Wallman back there on the back end, which they haven't really had yet. They become suddenly a very, very scary team again.
Yeah, the issue I see with that though is that while we're waiting for them to kind of get back to where they need to be, they're playing an elite Kings team, right? And it's going to be like, I mean, unless if they get it back in like a game or two, like it's just going to be too late, right?
Yeah, hopefully, like I hope so.
Yeah. If you were playing a weaker team, then like you can afford that, and you can kind of get yourself into the get your legs, get your like roster the way that you need to do, get Kane back and all that, and like spread out the minutes, kind of see what you have and stuff. They don't have that. They don't have that ability in this series against an elite league Kings team. So that would be my concern here. There's a comment in the chat about what Kings need to do, what adjustments you make. I don't think you can make any adjustments, right? Like McDavid and Draisaitl, they're gonna do what they do, right? Like the only thing you can do at this point, and like what's like when the Oilers have lost series, the way that they've lost is that over the course of the series, the amount of pain that you inflict on them in the early part of the series, that shows up later, and that's all you can do. Just play them hard, put a body on them. And the Kings do that anyways. So I would just say that the way that you played your A game in the first half, in the first game of game one, that's the way that you need to keep playing, right? So obviously Kemper needs to be better, but there's no real adjustments that you can make.
You need to win the non-McDavid Draisaitl minutes. That's it. And you need to win them comfortably because they don't have the depth. And and the Kings, that's their strength, is the depth, right? When McDavid and Draisaitl aren't out there, or when it's just one of them out there, you need to win those minutes. And that's it. That's it. When Draisaitl and McDavid are out there together, you just have to survive. You're not going to win those minutes. It is what it is, but they're not going to be out there together, the whole game. They can't be out there together the whole game. There's going to be enough time where neither of them are out there, just one of them's out there. You just have to win those minutes, and that's it. If they do that, they'll be completely fine. So all right, let's get into tonight's games, because we talked a lot about yesterday, but it was a really good night of hockey, and I think that warranted a lot of discussion, especially early in these series, as we have a lot of I love the live markets that FanDuel has. They keep these up through the games. I don't know if you've noticed that, but these are up the whole way through. It's been awesome. So I've loved playing around with that during the game. So I definitely recommend doing that. You can get some bigger numbers, maybe some big reactions to goals and stuff like that, and you can kind of get some bigger prices that you wouldn't get otherwise the day after a game. So definitely recommend checking that out. We will get into tonight's games. Before we do, the NHL playoffs have begun, and the Battle of Ontario is on. FanDuel is your home for live betting the Battle of Ontario and other playoff series, with new features like live SGPs, build a parlay any game, any period, or stack multiple matchups onto one slip with same game parlay plus. And what's better than playoff hockey? Overtime playoff hockey. Get more from the game with live overtime markets. Right now, new customers can kick off the season with $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Just place any $5 bet, and you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download FanDuel Sportsbook today and get more with North America's #1 sportsbook. Please play responsibly. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC, or 19 plus and physically located in Ontario. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-866-531-2600. Visit connexontario.ca. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 or 24/7 Sport in Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. All right. Let's get into tonight's games here. We will start with the early game, the Devils and the Hurricanes, a 6 p.m. Eastern start, which is a little bit interesting here as their NHL's really trying to stagger start times. They went from like 9 games starting at 7 o'clock and 4 games starting at 10 to like now like separating games by an hour and a half, which is wild. The Devils and the Hurricanes. Devils this morning, no, from what I saw on Twitter, no Brendan Dillon or Luke Hughes at morning skate.
Yeah.
Just a disaster for them on the back end. Their last pair was like Cholowski and Nemec. You thought it couldn't get worse for the Devils. It looks like it is getting worse. Plus 220 on the money line. Canes minus 275, which honestly, I'm surprised is not even bigger at this point, just given how much the market loves them and the injuries the Devils are dealing with and what we saw in game 1. I felt like kind of the perfect storm for this to be nuked even more by the market. But a total of 5.5, minus 138 to the under, plus 112 to the over. Is there any way you are betting this game?
Not this game, but I did bet Carolina to get the sweep after game 1 at plus 300. If you look at where you anticipate the closing lines to be in the next 3 games, there was value on that plus 300 as opposed to playing game by game. It's not to say that I don't think Carolina wins or like there's value in the number tonight. I do. I think that Carolina, even at the, minus 260s, I think that even that is a little bit too short, to be honest. So you look at, I talked about the ebb and flows of series where you kind of need to see that which teams can make adjustments and is there a basis for that adjustment. We know that the Oilers, what they need to do, there is going to be an adjustment there. We saw an adjustment with Dallas, right? So there's certain teams that you know that there's things that they can do to improve their game, and you would reasonably expect them to be better. I don't know what the Devils can do at this point. Even how that game started, how close it was early, that was still deceiving as well. And it's not sustainable to rely on Markstrom to be able to keep you in every game. The way that he started that game was outstanding, but we've seen that that level of play is not sustainable for him. We have seen Carolina, that level of play that is sustainable for them, especially against a team that does allow them to forecheck and carry the play through the neutral zone, which the Devils allow them to do because they don't have the horses to prevent that, right? So if Carolina has their heads on right, which I suspect they do, based
they're too well coached.
They played that whole game, right? So I would expect that to continue, and I think that Carolina will continue taking it to.
Yeah. Sorry, you were freezing a bit. I don't know if it was just for me or my computer or what. I agree with everything. This feels like it's going to be relatively quick the rest of the way here. Can't see New Jersey putting up much of a fight, even going back home. Like they say, it's not a series until someone loses at home. I think that that doesn't necessarily apply here. I watched most of that game 1, amidst the Easter festivities, so it wasn't like glued in, but like it was just lifeless from this Devils team. They look like they know they're defeated. It's got to suck internally too to like have the injuries that they're dealing with. But I mean, Luke Hughes, you see what he did. He was one of their best players in game 1, and he has been one of their most reliable players on the back end that has kind of helped them through this like really rough stretch. So without him, it's not confirmed that he can't go, but like based on the injury and the fact that he's not at the skate this morning, I would not be optimistic about his chances of being in there. But yeah, he former edge work. Todd Cordell says in game one, Luke Hughes finished tied for the team lead in 5-on-5 shot assists, attempted 7 of his own, and was on for more shots, chances, expected goals than anybody else on the team. So, kind of can't lose him. It's crazy that we're saying this, but like this is a 2-3 matchup too. It's not even like a 1 versus an 8. But like this does feel short in Carolina. There's other ways to bet it. There's other ways to go about this here. And as Roldy says, they are out confirmed by Keith. So there we go. This team is absolutely cooked. Honestly, it makes me somewhat want to get on an over at this. Like I said, this was going to be a lower scoring series. I talked about like not liking goals here at this price at this game. Carolina feels like they could score 6 here without even working out much of a sweat. Don't really trust Markstrom defensively. They're just breakdown after breakdown. It's pretty bad. We will move on to the Battle of Ontario. Ton of markets up here for that one on FanDuel. Sens plus 140, Leafs minus 170, a total of 5.5, minus 124 to the over, plus 102 to the under. I have some interest in betting this game. I will give you the floor first, though, and see if there's anything you like here, if there's any way you're planning on attacking this one.
Am I still choppy here? Like I feel that
you're good now.
I've been reading your.
You're good for me at least. Oh, you're choppy.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I'll. What's going on? Because you're frozen. You look good, but you're frozen.
You're frozen. You're good now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be quick. So in terms of adjustments, right? What is they can Ottawa needs to be better with their discipline. I up in a lot of the stuff that extracurricular stuff into, and I don't think Ottawa can continue playing that way, especially with the Leafs a lot better on the power play, right? So kind of in order to get their physicality in this series. In game one, they showed that they were not able to know where that line is drawn. So I think that that's what's going to, if they continue to play like that, that's going to end up costing them. I thought the room for in that game, and I think that'll come. I think that what we're seeing from this Leafs team is similar to the other teams I've talked about. From what I've seen, is they understand what they need to do, and as we go through the playoffs and we have these teams kind of looking like they get it, I think that's going to bode well for them in terms of this game. Fair drop Ottawa in terms of their pricing. We're obviously I'm not there to bet on Ottawa. I'm not there to bet on the Leafs either. So in this game I'll pass. But obviously we do like Leafs for the series. So we are cheering for the Leafs here.
Yes, we are. We got minus 1.5, minus 2.5. Hopefully, I mean you lose this game and all of a sudden you just know you're gonna start making things real interesting, give them life. You don't want to do that. You kind of want to step on their throats early here. So this is a very important game for them. I think that they know that they're not gonna come out and just let the Sens have the same response that Sens want in game two. I do expect the Leafs to produce a response-ish of their own, or just still come out very strong here and not try and give them life, because this is a massive, massive game for the length of the series and just for who's going to win the series in general. I do have not necessarily something we can track, I'd say, I guess, because it's not widely available. But there is a one. I guess sharp book that has 6 minus 120 to the under on the total. And I do like an under if you can get that price. Again, we talked about 5-on-5 and like the Sens fans going on about, the 5-on-5 metrics and how much we outplay them at 5-on-5. A lot of that was just score effects. I don't buy into what the Sens generated at 5-on-5 at all. I also, though, will say the one thing I will say about them is the Leafs also did not generate much at all at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
A lot of their damage came on the power play. It was a very low event game at 5-on-5. It was Ottawa just lacking the talent, lacking the skill up front, just throwing a lot of kind of trash towards the net, which is not necessarily how you're going to beat Skolars. Maybe with some traffic and some deflections, you can grind out a few, but I don't know how sustainable that is. I don't necessarily. The Leafs have had this issue generating a 5-on-5 for a long time now. So I don't necessarily expect that to change. I would expect a response from Ottawa in terms of their discipline and in terms of, their defensive play. That's how these Travis Green teams like to respond. It is defensively. So at the 6 -120, I do like an under. But again, not something we'll track because I honestly, it's like right on the range. I wouldn't play it at 5.5. I think getting the 6 here is so important. So at -120 or better. So if you can get that, that's kind of how I'd attack this. Otherwise, I'd kind of just wait and hold off here. Nothing for me otherwise. But I do think this will be a tighter, lower event game. Hopefully a lot less penalties. We see some more discipline from both teams. And I would like to actually just see how these teams do playing a long stretch at 5-on-5. I felt like last game was so interrupted by all like the shit and the penalties, and we couldn't get like a sustained period of just like, let's see these teams go, toe to toe at 5-on-5 for a while. I think that it won't go as well for Ottawa as they think it will, but I do think they'll be able to keep it a lot closer, and it will be a much tighter game because of that. So if the 6 has now since been wiped out as well. Ryan in the chat says, "Oops, sorry, took that." I mean, hopefully there's some that pop back up or you shop around or something. But that's kind of the way I like to look at this game. We will move on to the game one of the Panthers and Lightning series, the last series that needs to kick off here. Panthers -102, Lightning -118, a total of 5.5, -114 to the over, -106 to the under. So money. This is a Florida team that we have never seen the correct version of. We have never seen this Florida team that they're going to ice tonight together at the same time. What are you expecting from them?
So we like to draw patterns with like teams and series and the way that games go and stuff, right? So I would expect Tkachuk to be in the lineup. You're right, we haven't seen this version of the Panthers before. So if we are talking about it took the Oilers a while to get going with that team and them being a veteran team as well, why wouldn't it take the Panthers to get going either, right? Especially with the opponent being a similar caliber in terms of the Kings and the Bolts. They're both elite teams, and the Panthers and Oilers are both veteran teams, right? So I do like Tampa Bay. Now my problem, well, not a problem, but what I'm waiting for is a market entry. I think that once Tkachuk is officially confirmed, which is going to happen like around, they're taking the ice at a 12 p.m. Eastern time. So once Florida takes the ice and Tkachuk is confirmed, then we'll see some money come in on Florida, and that's when I'm planning to bet on Tampa Bay. If for whatever reason he's out, then we got to move quickly. So I like this number on Tampa Bay, even with him in, and we can confirm that. But in terms of betting it, I will make the actual bet once I know Tkachuk's status. If he's in, then we'll get a better number with Tampa Bay, I feel. So in terms of this game, why I feel this number is short and where my edge comes in is that I think that Tampa Bay, there's a focus on them in this series about the way that they're going to start this series. I think that they know that it starts defensively. I expect a big series from Vasilevsky now that he's healthy. He clearly wasn't healthy last year, and we touched on that quite a bit. He is fully healthy now, and down the stretch, he was starting to find his game, and he started looking very good. So there's that, and then the second thing is kind of integrating Florida's guys into the lineup. So I think that it'll be tough for them game one. Long term in this series, I think it's a 7-game coin flip series, but I do feel that I've got an edge on Tampa Bay for this game one.
Yeah, and I agree with market entry here because Florida always takes their money. Market really likes them and Tampa has to an extent, but Florida is one of those teams that just you can kind of consistently expect them to take money. Even honestly, we've seen it even when they have guys out of the lineup, they're still taking money. Market really believes in this team. You can understand why, obviously. I do think there's no rush to bet Tampa. I think this number will only get better. I would be stunned if Tkachuk is not able to play.
Yeah.
Maurice hasn't exactly done a good job of hiding that either, where he said like, oh, I don't know, we're gonna have to see, but he's also said like everyone is ready and everyone is available for us in game one. Like a week ago, he said that, and we don't expect to have anyone else. So like, he's not necessarily doing the best with the gamesmanship here. I think he's just excited to get everyone back in that lineup. I do think there's time to wait to bet Tampa. I do agree on Tampa here. Cooper will have these guys ready to go. This is maybe it's like a little bit of hyperbole, but like this is a must win. It feels like a must win game for Tampa. Like you lose this game. I mean, their first game with all these guys in the lineup, you have to catch them right now early. You have to catch them when they're a little rusty, when they're still trying to get their legs under them. Because once they get rolling, you're in trouble. If you can't take a stranglehold on this series early on, I'm going to be very concerned for Tampa and any sort of Tampa futures or positions or anything like that. It does feel like you see like even just like the Sportsnet panels and this and that, like everyone's just picking the Bolts. I have Bolts futures. I don't have any Bolts in the series, but like I do have some Bolts futures and stuff like that I've been sitting on for a while. God, it does just feel like everyone is just counting out Florida, and it's just a terrible, terrible, terrible decision because this roster is great. And yeah, if Tampa can't beat them without Ekblad and with Tkachuk just coming back and with a bunch of these guys just coming back into the lineup, then I think you can kind of wave goodbye to their chances of winning this series. So this is definitely a must win. You should get a better price from Tampa at 1 point here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and track Tampa regardless because we're on the show and we want to, we're talking about betting it and we want to be transparent here and we want to track everything we give out. But again, don't necessarily think you have to rush into betting this as well. As Jordan says, I hate that this matchup happened in round one. Yeah, for sure, definitely. But also, like, there's something to be said about getting. Well, I guess we're not getting the full health because Bjorkstrand's out. But like, something cool about getting it when it's not like round 3-2 and guys are like worn down. You're getting different versions of teams. Like we should be getting kind of the best of Florida and the best of Tampa, which is one element of it that makes it fun. I will say I was doing some some mapping out of this Eastern Conference playoffs. After yesterday, like the prices are kind of shit. It's not exactly great numbers you're getting, but like it really, really made me want to go in and buy Carolina futures. But like 2-1, like it's just not worth it to win the East. There's so many different ways you can go ahead and bet that, but like you look at the path for them. I mean, they're going to coast through this series, be rested and relaxed to go take on a Habs or a Caps team that they should be considerably favored against. And then you're going to go on and take whoever wins the Atlantic, and whoever comes out of the Atlantic is going to be battered and bruised by the time they get out of there. The path is pretty kind for this Canes team. But again, the prices kind of reflect that. So there's different ways to go about betting that. But yeah, it just looks like things are kind of falling into place a little bit here for Carolina, where like maybe they're not the best team in the East or whatever, but like they might just have the easiest path to kind of come out of it. No,
until they run into the mighty Leafs. I do agree with you with the path, but that's why it's like all the more important for the Leafs to finish their series quickly. And I mean like I do have these futures and part of the edge I saw there was mapping this out, that if the Leafs can get this done quickly, and if Tampa, Florida, like if that goes long, like how I think they will, then maybe the Leafs catch a break too. And this series is going to be condensed as well with it starting so late, right? So that was the edge on the Leafs. So yes, Carolina has like a bigger advantage, but if the Leafs play this right, then it should be mitigated as well. Well, not as much as they can mitigate it in terms of the scheduling, but they do have the opportunity here.
Yeah. Okay. We will move on to the last game of the night, the Wild and the Knights. Wild plus 198, Vegas minus 245 on FanDuel, total of 5.5, minus 112 to the over, minus 108 to the under. Anyone who had the under in the first game is probably still in shambles right now. Honestly, didn't hate what we saw from the Wild. Like, I think they're only going to get a little bit better as their guys get their legs under them. Their whole lineup, like Bouillon did not look great, thrown, into the fire in his first game, but he'll get a little bit more comfortable and confident. I do think there's some potential here for the Wild to kind of make this a bit more of an interesting series than the market is giving them credit for. Not necessarily dying to back them tonight or anything like that. We did see a much higher event game than like the people who had the under were like crushed by how that ended. But honestly, that game did deserve to go over based on how much was generated, especially even at 5-on-5. It was a much higher event game than you would have expected. I don't know. Do you have any way that you're kind of attacking this series going forward or attacking this game tonight?
I was just laughing at Jordan's comment there. So I did pick Minnesota to win this series. And we touched on this in the preview show where Vegas does everything that that Minnesota wants to do, but they do it slightly better. And I do agree with that. And we saw that in game one where Vegas was just slightly better in pretty much across the board with everything that the Wild wanted to do. Now, it was just game one, and it doesn't really take me away from the Wild in that game. I do like them in game two. We're seeing plus 190s right now. So the way that I priced this, I had Minnesota in the plus 160s, right? So like I know that that's a little off in terms of where my colleagues have their numbers as well, but that's the way that I'm pricing them. In this series, I'm coming in higher on Minnesota, right? I do think that a lot of these games are going to be coin flip games. Yeah. I picked Minnesota to win this series just because, I mean, there was value there. I can also see the point that Vegas will have enough to kind of, because they do everything better. So I don't think it's going to be a short series. I think it's going to be a long series. If it is a long series, if I'm right, Minnesota needs to win this game. And I think that they will. So I did bet the Wild. I said the number that I like them down to into the 160s. So I bet the Wild here.
I took a little bit of a different approach. I do agree with you. I do like the Wilds in this series a lot more than the market's giving them credit for. Over 5.5 games. I bet these a lot after like the underdog loses game one, like they're generally supposed to. You get much bigger discounts on these. I think the market overreacts to the team losing game one. I don't think like we see massive adjustments from like the prices are like minus 160s in some cases, and then like the minus 240 favorite wins game one, and all of a sudden we're getting like we're right now minus 108 on this over 5.5 games in the series. That's way too big of an adjustment. Vegas should win game one. They're supposed to win game one. That shouldn't change anything in the outlook, or at least not this drastically. So I do like the over 5.5 minus 108. There's quite a bit. I have some pre-series and I added to it. I'm comfortable, adding at this number right now. Just an alternate way to sort of play maybe the Wild tonight. Obviously, the Wild winning tonight, basically, like you don't want to jinx it, but basically gets that home. But even if the Wild lose tonight, there's still a pathway to cashing this. So you're kind of betting the Wild at a very different number, but there's also different ways to kind of go about cashing it too. So yeah, I like the Wilds. I like the over in the series. I think they're being slept on a little bit too much right now in the market. So they're deeper. Look, like they're deeper than they're given credit for. When they're healthy here, I like what they have on the back end. They had a couple like uncharacteristic sort of goals that they gave up, like Faber losing that battle to Hurdle. Faber will respond to that. Like that's just, I just didn't love what I saw from Vegas and how they match up here. Like Minnesota can match up very, very well. They can roll with them. They can roll 4 lines with them if they want to. They can play any sort of way they want. The Vegas wants to play. They can throw that Kaprizov line out there and get cute and have some fun, create offense, or they can shut things down if they need to as well. So I like the way they match up here, and I like the different ways to sort of attack them in this series. So we'll go ahead and track, I guess both of those are kind of an unofficial bet on the over 5.5 games in this series. And that will do it for today's game. So send your goal scores in the chat. We'll build another anytime goal parlay. We had a decent one yesterday. Didn't get home, but we got a couple of them home. came close. It was I think we had Suzuki, Perfetti, Duchesne,
Byfield.
and Byfield. Byfield and Suzuki scored. Perfetti almost scored. I mean, it doesn't really matter that he almost scored. And then nothing from Duchesne. We got 2 of them home. Hopefully we can get more tonight. So send your goal scores in the chat. Before we get to those, we will look at tonight's best bets just to recap them one more time. We have the Lightning minus 115, but again, you can wait on that and get a better number if you are going to be on screen and you're comfortable waiting. Definitely would wait for that. And then the Wild plus 198. Those are the 2 best bets for tonight. And some unofficial best bets that we are unable to track here in BetStamp. The over 5.5 games in Washington, Montreal, minus 113. We have the Avs to win the series live, minus 176 on FanDuel. And we have the Wild and the Knights over 5.5 games, I should say. Not over 5.5 tonight, but over 5.5 games in the series at minus 108. 3 more sort of unofficial best bets here. All right, let's do the anytime goal parlay. For Hagee, plus 400 to score a goal is wild from our resident Panthers fan, Charles. I believe he's skating on that top line with Barkov and Reinhart, right?
He should be, yeah. So I think we can add that.
I don't see plus 400 though. I see plus 280.
Oh, and I think we can let's stack Carolina, man. Let's just make a goal score.
Just honestly, just SGP like 4 Canes players. I think that's the way to do it here. Is there any Carolina player that like stands out to throw in here for you?
Svechnikov stands out. What's his number?
He was shooting a ton in game 1. 240.
Yeah, I like that. I think that there's going to be a focus on the Stankoven line. I think that just might open up a little bit for his line, and like if he's shooting the way he was in the first game, I think he'll be good here.
Okay, we'll throw him in there. We'll throw Svechnikov in there. Do we want to throw Verhaeghe in there, although the price is different?
Yeah.
Okay, let's throw Verhaeghe in there at 280.
And we need a Leafs guy.
We need a Leafs guy, and we need a guy from the Wild, I'd say. I kind of like Eriksson Ek, but
let's see who's standing out here for the Leafs.
Boldy also plus 240. We need Zach in the chat to throw us a Leafs guy that he's feeling for tonight.
Austin Matthews is plus 125. I like him, but that number is tough though.
What about Nyes 250?
Yeah, I like him.
Okay, let's throw Nyes in there, and then Eriksson after Boldy.
Oh shoot, that's a tough one. Here, let me run something here. Oh, they're like the same. It's exactly the same. Who's got the better price?
Eriksson Ek. Slightly better. I'm feeling Eriksson Ek goal tonight.
Okay, fine. Let's do that.
Okay, let's do it. Joel Eriksson Ek we'll throw in there as well. So those will be the 4 for tonight. Svechnikov, Verhaeghe, Nyes, and Eriksson Ek. 166 to 1.
Beauty.
I like it. Make sure you're round robining these as well. Also, make sure you are checking out FanDuel during the games. Seriously, this is not an ad read. This is like there are some prices to be had. There are some fun markets up there live. If you are like live betting series stuff, live betting games, whatever you want to do, it's just the nature of like when you're offering that many markets live, you're not gonna be able to price everything perfectly. It's a lot of work for a trading team. That's just the reality of it. And they have a ton of stuff up there live, stuff that you can SGP, stuff you can parlay together, and just, regular series stuff and game stuff that you can bet straight. A lot of like series winner and derivative markets live. It's fun just to, have that screen open and being firing away. So, all right, that'll do it for us today. Best bets one more time were the Lightning minus 115 and the Wild plus 198. Again, you can wait a little bit on the Lightning. We did have those other series bets as well. The over 5.5 games in the Washington series and the Vegas series and the Avs series price live minus 176, all on FanDuel. That'll do it for us today. Make sure you like and all that sort of stuff. Like the stream, comment, all that sort of stuff before you leave. It does help us out. Myself and So Money and Rob Pizzola will be back tomorrow on Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, as always, to break down tonight's games and preview tomorrow's games, give out some best bets, all that sort of stuff. Until then, enjoy the games tonight and good luck on your bets.